took the leap. You and I, we took the leap. We quit our jobs. We started a company and we chased our dreams. You know, and I love my life. My life is freaking awesome. I'm in Los Angeles, California. In the past 2 months, I've been to Montana, Wyoming, Washington, Oregon, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia. I mean, we also.
Do you hate that, Matt?
No. Able to find my purpose and my passion through health and wellness. No matter what.
No matter what.
My goal in life is to die sober. So when I talk about it, it brings tears to my eyes because it is so powerful. It's like your mind is telling you shouldn't be doing this, but you can't stop.
Both. You want to keep the alcohol in your life, and you want to keep your family close to you.
Sure. Like chugging hard liquor, and to the point that I was kind of known for it. Welcome to another episode of Car Talks.
Welcome to the traffic of LA.
Traffic, sitting in a... Wait, hold on. Traffic, getting kind of car sick. Sitting... What is that? There's a Ford Maverick.
I don't know.
Name that movie.
That's why we started this, because we've spent more time in the car than anywhere else.
Yeah, we traveled the whole country. Well, we went from East Coast to West Coast, then up and down, south to north, back south. So we've been in the car a lot, and we've had a lot of really good talks.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
And we feel like we should share those talks.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes here in the car we open really deep, and because we don't have an option where to run away, it's like, I mean, you're stuck.
No choice.
You're stuck here. You talk or that's it. I don't know.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about our journey. And Maria and I are going to get a little vulnerable. I want you to know that we've been through the struggle too. So no matter what you're trying to accomplish or how you're trying to move forward, we understand that it's difficult. And so by opening up and being vulnerable, we feel like we can help more. So today
is the day that we open, because I mean, there's a lot. Everyone have a past, a present, and a future, right? So tell me, how was your childhood? How was Matt there?
My childhood was normal. I had a normal childhood. I had good grades. I played sports, lots of sports, loved sports. My family is absolutely amazing. Was and still close with my extended family. Totally normal.
Good.
All good.
So you're telling me like your childhood and your family and everything, it was pretty normal, pretty average, all good. But we know you drive yourself to an addiction.
Yes.
So what was that pain point that drive you to that dark part in your life? What makes Matt to have that switch?
Well, it's not what makes me have that switch, it's what made me in the past. I crossed the line into alcoholism that I couldn't come back from. As far as the switch at that time, it's hard, I think, for me to pinpoint exactly what it was it was hard for me up until kind of recently. When I realized that in college, I had stopped playing sports, I stopped playing football. And although I had kept all of those friends, I had definitely felt like my identity changed. So that, coupled with getting into a relationship with my future wife and then ex-wife, I kind of got wrapped up in her. And so with quitting football and getting into the relationship, that relationship I think became my identity. And so when I had left college, my girlfriend at the time and I went our separate ways. She went home to her parents. I had went home to mine. I ended up living alone around my hometown. But in that time, I didn't reach out to friends. My girlfriend, who I had wrapped myself up in, was an hour and a half to 2 hours away from me. And so I turned to alcohol every night, and then every night turned to every day, and every day turned to as soon as I woke up, because I crossed the line, the switch flipped, and I become an alcoholic. I become dependent on alcohol.
That's a really good point that I'm curious, and probably more people could be interested too, that if I'm saying I'm going out tonight for a couple of drinks, I cannot understand what it's an alcoholic, because it's a different mindset and it's a different situation.
Sure.
So I cannot be in your seat and say, oh, I understand you, but can you describe me a little bit more, Dave? What's the feelings or what's inside of your head being an alcoholic at that point of your life?
Sure, yeah. Well, it sucks. It sucked. So the feelings there was a lot of mixed feelings, a lot of emotions for sure. And I'm going to take you kind of through a timeline of how I was feeling and why I was feeling that way. Because in the beginning, when I was living on my own and I really started to drink every day, nobody knew. Not my girlfriend, not my family. And really, to be honest with you, if anything, they had thought I drank less than most people, because at family parties or holiday parties or anything like that, I was drinking less. But that's because I had already had a bottle in my body, you know? And so the feeling that came with that was, wow, I'm drinking like this, I'm functional, I'm doing well at work, you know, everything was kind of okay for a very, very short period of time. But that feeling of okay, I think, made me feel like I could actually like successfully hide my drinking and successfully live my life.
That makes you proud.
Functional. Well, I wouldn't call it proud. I was not proud of it.
Okay.
It was a realization of I can get away with it, you know?
Okay.
Although I realized that my drinking had become a problem, absolutely, my deluded brain was under the impression that I could stop at any time, and that what I was doing was a choice, and I was choosing to wake up, and I was choosing to drink alcohol, and I was choosing to go about my day like that every day. So fast forward a little bit, it was probably like maybe 2 years before, a year or two before my girlfriend realized that I was drinking. She had found a bottle, or a bag of bottles, a bag of empty bottles. At this point, we had moved in with each other, and
you were hiding it from
yes.
her.
Oh yes, I was hiding. Yeah.
From everyone.
From everybody.
Okay.
But at this point, then, when we lived together, I was running out of places to leave my empty bottles, so I started putting them in a bag, and then I was going to throw the bag away when I was alone, and it never happened. And I came home one day, and she was sitting there with the bag open, crying, and oh my gosh, the feeling there. I didn't know what to do. Honestly, I didn't know what to do.
What did you do? Because that already
desperation. I acted out of despair, and you know what? She did too. To be honest, we both rationalized. It's funny because when I actually started to get into the big book and actually started to work an effective program, I found that we as a couple did all of the things that they say in the big book everybody tries, only drink at parties, only drink on the weekends, only drink beer, not hard alcohol, only drink when you're home, not when you're out, stuff like that. And none of it was successful. None of it was successful. It was at that point that I realized I had a problem. And let me correct that. It was about 2 weeks later that I realized that I had a problem, because I had stopped drinking when that happened, when she found that I had stopped drinking. I didn't last long though. I made it might not have even been 2 weeks, it might have been a week, that I was back drinking like normal, just like I was before, a bottle a day. And she had no idea again. I continued to get away with it until inevitably she called me. And this was a cycle for probably 2 years. I've never felt so out of control, not in the sense that like I'm going crazy, whatever, going knocking stuff over, blowing china shop, blah, blah, blah. I've never felt like I've had such little control over myself. I was acting ways that I'd never acted before. The only thought on my mind was, how can I get a drink, and how am I going to get away with it? After a while, though, it got old for my family, and the feeling of guilt just crushed me, because I had hurt them so many times. I hurt my family so many times. But the thing is, I didn't want to keep hurting them. I was trying. I was, again, going to programs and going to meetings. I was trying. And I just kept hurting them. And so it got to the point that I felt suffocated. I felt like I couldn't move forward. I was taken down to my knees, and in my brain, I had one option. I had one option in order to allow everybody in my life to move forward, and that was to take my own life. Because if I took my own life, then I could never hurt the ones that I love again. And I can't, it's really, really, really hard to describe what leads up to that decision. And actually make the attempt. I was in a really, 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 really bad place for a really long time. I was, like I said, I was suffocating. constant feelings of despair, constant feelings of a pit in my stomach, anxiety, stress, just all the time. And, you know, on top of all that, I wasn't healthy. I mean, beyond the alcohol, I was eating like crap. I was gaining weight, you know, from the time I graduated college to 2 years later, I had gained 60 pounds, probably even more. And when I decided to take my life, when I took that action, the only thoughts that were going through my head were, I'm doing this for them, I'm doing this for them, I'm doing this for them. And I legit thought that was the right course of action.
So you said you were hurting your family, like probably hiding things, lying and in that way, and making them, you were feeling like making them sad in the way that you were driving your life. But at the same time, you want to keep both. You want to keep the alcohol in your life, and you want to keep your family close to you.
Sure.
And you feel like that back and forward drive you to the point to take your life. But what happened there? I mean, I don't want you, I don't know, like, it's really hard because it's a really sensitive situation when you go to commit suicide and everything. But once you did that, what happened immediately at that point, after that? Because you're here, thank God, you're here today.
By the grace of God, I was unsuccessful. I had made the attempt. It was the immediately it was unsuccessful, right? So I realized that, and I got on the phone and I called 911. Or no, actually, I called my wife, and she called 911, and they came to the house. And luckily, by the time they got there, I was still okay, because I was bleeding quite a bit. After, I mean, I don't know. You feel like you've been beaten down and beaten down. And not 5 months later, my wife asked for a divorce, which I can't blame her. You know, I mean, sure, I
today.
Today, yeah.
Because
today.
When she asked you for divorce, what was your impression? Do you blame her at that moment?
My immediate response was, no, I did not blame her.
Okay.
My immediate response was, I blame myself.
Okay.
Shortly after came the blame on her. Shortly after came, she said that she'll marry me when she knew I had a problem. She said I do when she knew I had a problem. She said these vows that, you know, she'll stay by my side in sickness and in health, and yet, where is she? So after I had gone through, I mean, I went through the stages of grief. I had a loss, you know, I lost my wife. But I didn't start to blame her until like the middle of getting over it, the middle of the process.
Oh, what was the realization?
As far as what?
As far as it wasn't her fault, it was my own fault.
Yes. Well, I went back to my original thought. You know, it's my own fault. I put myself in this situation. Going back to high school, I put myself in this situation. You know, there was definitely, looking back now, times that I should have seen alcoholism, you know, or the ism, the personality traits, even as far as drinking itself. Like, I was in high school, I felt like I was always the one that was like chugging hard liquor, and to the point that I was kind of known for it, you know.
You're feeling like the cool guy.
Yeah, kind of. Okay. And that was also a part of it too, because like I mentioned, I played sports, I had friends, you know, I had a good time in high school. But I always felt shy. I always felt more, you know, to myself. I always kept more to myself.
Okay.
And alcohol brought it out. You know, it brought out my alcohol brought out what I felt like was my personality.
Okay.
That if I wasn't so shy, this is how I would be all the time. And I loved it. I could talk to people. I had so much fun, not a care in the world, and it was great until it wasn't. You know. But again, that goes back to identifying these things at a time that why would I know in high school? You know, why would I think to, like, oh wow, I might become an alcoholic if I'm doing this?
Yeah, that was a whole process, because to enter that realization, once you ended up in the hospital, what happened there? Your family took control, you take control,
right.
What happened there?
Right. So you mean immediately after?
Yeah, at that point, because you were feeling really down, you need therapy, you need help because...
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I was in Lehigh Valley Hospital, and I guess I went to a psych unit. I mean, when you try to take your own life, if you're a danger to yourself or others, then you have to go to a psych unit. And so...
Oh my God, I can't believe how hard for your family.
Well, this was the second time. So, yeah.
What do you mean with the second time?
Because this was the second time I at one point had the ideation of taking my life, and I called my therapist at the time, and my therapist told me to go to the hospital and tell them, you know, and so that's what I did, and they wouldn't let me leave. Basically, it was either sign this to go voluntarily, or we're arresting you, basically, and taking you. They wouldn't let me leave.
Okay.
So this was the second time. This time I knew I had to. This time I had no doubt that I had to go, because obviously there was something mentally wrong.
And I remember one time, I mean, as many talks that we have about, because I'm trying to understand all of this world, you told me that this is not something genetic, this is not something that it's from your father or your mother or things like that. You say like, oh, my father was an alcoholic, that's why I'm an alcoholic. You explain me really well what happened in your brain and your genes and everything. What exactly, from where you come from there?
Let me clarify. For me, it's not genetic, I don't think. For me, there's nobody in my family that is an alcoholic. Alcoholism, it can be genetic though. You can get alcoholism from a parent or a grandparent. You know, the gene.
The gene,
or,
okay.
Yeah, you know,
Okay.
But what I will say is that anybody can become an alcoholic. And if you do cross the line into alcoholism, then there's really no coming back, or at least not many, you know. Not to be a successful drinker, a successful normie. There's a makeup in the brain chemistry of an alcoholic. It causes our brain to tell us that this, I mean, it could be a drug addict or an alcoholic. This drug is going to solve your problems, right? There's something, it gives us enough dopamine, the immediate dopamine that we're looking for to solve our problems. So like when people say that, well, alcohol's a problem, really for alcoholics, more times than not, alcohol is our solution. Alcohol is the solution to something that is deeper inside of us. It could be trauma, it could be past tragedy, it could be genetics, it could also be your brain chemistry, it could be loneliness, it could be depression. There's tons and tons of reasons that alcohol can be your solution. The problem is that once that solution becomes your life, once you become dependent on that solution, that's when you're in trouble.
So once you went through all of this therapy and everything, your life went through divorce and everything, like all of this big hell come to your life.
Yeah.
And you decided to change. You decided to come to rehab, right?
Again, yes.
But when you say it again, that sounds like you've been trying. So how many times you went to rehab? And
yes, as I mentioned, I've been in rehab multiple times, and I think I went to 4 or 5 inpatient rehabs, and then after that, like outpatients, to help me go back into the real world.
You know what's the feeling? Because I have an uncle, you know, like in my family have some alcoholism and everything, and I have this specific uncle that he's been in rehab his whole life, go back and forward, 3 months in, 6 out, and back like this, and he's older, 60 something. I mean. And that's his end. He already said this is going to be my end, but still fighting until the end. And then that part is really like important. I'm still fighting because I want to change, but I can't because I have to relapse.
Yeah, it shows the power of the disease, which it is. It's a disease. Addiction is a disease, and when you see real life examples like that of people that are continuing to go and trying and just they can't get it, it really, really shows the power. And if anybody out there is thinking, you know, or wants to have a better idea of alcoholism, I think a really good movie to watch is Flight, with Denzel Washington. Yes, Denzel Washington. There's a scene in that movie, and I've talked about this plenty of times. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
I remember. The girl?
The girl in the beginning, she picks up the phone, she dials her drug dealer's number, she puts the phone up to her ear, and she's praying, don't answer, don't answer, don't answer, don't answer. And every time I talk about it, it brings tears to my eyes because it is so powerful. It's like your mind is telling you shouldn't be doing this, but you can't stop your hands from making the call, or you can't stop your hands from driving you to the liquor store. Even though up here you're saying no, 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 you just, it's crazy how powerful it is.
It's just, this is really deep. But after 5 times trying to come out of that disease, today you're, how long you've been sober?
2.5 years.
And what was the last time? What was the last time you went to rehab? What?
Summer 16th I walked in.
But why the first, second, third, fourth time were different than the 5th time? Which is, I'm grateful, obviously, but I cannot understand the feeling going back and relapse.
No, yeah, you can't, definitely. It's a shitty feeling. But what was different?
You came to New Jersey.
Yeah, right. Well, but seriously, the difference in the beginning was that I took suggestions, and that's a big part of the program. You know, it's all suggestions.
What do you mean?
There's no rule or law that says that you have to live that way or live this way or do this or do that. The program is a suggestion. The program suggests that if you live this way, by these principles, and you take these steps, then you can be free of alcohol.
Okay, once you said you tried for 5 times to become sober, but inside of you was something that makes you relapse and something that makes you like go back to point A, and you were still hating your life because you wasn't able to be strong enough to be sober. But there were this last time you talk about, like the 2.5 years ago, that you decided to do this change. But what was that switch, or why this time was different than the other times?
Well, this time I went for myself. This time I went for myself, and I took suggestions.
2 years ago, almost 2 years ago when we started dating, that you always explain me and tell me all the A, B, C, and D things can happen because you were getting sober. It was really the beginning of your new lifestyle, new era, and I was, and even today, I just have this feeling like, look, my hair, because I remember that I didn't know nothing about alcoholism as a disease, because you go to parties and everything and you see people drinking, but you don't understand that that's different than waking up and just thinking that way, right? But my point here is, like, we don't know, like, tomorrow what's going to happen. We're engaged, and then I love you, you're an amazing man, and then everything, but this is something that I want to share because you always told me that relapse are always a possibility.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that matter never is right. But
I will always be a recovering alcoholic.
But you also told me that even if you relapse, God never that happened, but we never know what the future is going to bring us. But you always said that you're always going to,
no matter what, my goal in life is to die sober. So no matter what happens, if God willing I won't, but if I do relapse, my goal will be to get sober again. And I have no doubt in my mind that I can do it. I've done it once and I'll do it again. Ideally it won't happen, but I'm determined to die sober. So.
And I love this part because what you can tell that people that is trying to get sober, not just alcohol, there are so many other addictions, and they try once or twice and they can't.
Do the work. 110% do the freaking work, because the work is what's going to get you out of it. I mean, unfortunately, it took me a lot of tries to understand that, but the work is what did it, you know. And then for me, starting to live a healthy life, you know, it was beyond just working to get sober. I needed more. At the time of getting sober, at the time that I was, the whole time of going through the rehabs, going in and out of rehabs, I did not have purpose in my life. There was nothing. And so whenever I would get sober, granted, I did not do all the work that I should have done, but I would get sober for, 2, 3, 4 months. One time I almost made it to 6 months. I still couldn't find, I didn't have a reason to get up. I did not have a reason to get up in the morning.
A purpose
And
in
until
life.
I had found that reason, that purpose, I struggled. I went in and I went out. And for me, I was able to find my purpose and my passion through health and wellness. Through really specifically fitness at first, exercise. But once I had put all of the hard work in, as far as exercise went, and once I had, decided that I really wanted to lose weight and get back to the way that I looked in college and my, maybe not quite my athletic ability in college, but as close to as I possibly could, I realized that I felt really good. Like really, really good. I was eating healthy. I was exercising every day. At the time, I didn't have, in the very beginning, I didn't have a full-time job quite yet. So I was doing Grubhub. But I felt really, really good. And so I decided to get my personal trainer certification because, damn, if I realized if I can help even just one person feel better within themselves, in their own body, in their own mind, then I'll be happy with my life, And so helping people get healthy and get fit and eat better, whatever their goals were when I worked at Crunch Fitness in Morristown, that was my passion. I found my passion. And not only did I find it there at the Crunch in Morristown, but I found that I needed even more. But the crazy thing about having a passion and a purpose is that if you have a passion and a purpose, taking the leap to go after your passion or purpose doesn't seem so crazy. And so I took the leap. You and I, we took the leap. We quit our jobs, we started a company, and we chased our dreams, And I owe it to a lot of different people and a lot of different points in my life. But what I will say is, for me, exercise and diet gave me the clearest mind and made me feel the best about myself and helped me become the person that I am today.
Okay, if you have Matt here instead of Maria, the Matt that was an alcoholic, the Matt who was feeling really deep in that dark moment in his life, what you will tell him?
That it's going to be okay. I can say that to that Matt because I know that Matt well. And my mother and that Matt and other people had a lot of conversations about the true Matt coming out, the true Matt coming back, and that Matt can do this. So I would tell him that it's going to be okay. I would tell him, don't stop, do more work, put more time in, but it's going to be okay.
Do you hate that Matt?
No, I can honestly say, like when I first started in the program, people would say, hi, my name is Matt, and I'm a grateful alcoholic. And I just could not wrap my head around that concept. Like, it's crazy. I didn't even go through, compared to, I'm not supposed to compare, but compared to some people, I really didn't go through that much. And for some of those people to say that they're a grateful alcoholic just absolutely blew my mind. But now, looking back after being 2.5 years sober, I can look at my life and I can say that it all happened the way it was supposed to happen for me. Because if I was never an alcoholic, geez, I don't know how I would have found my passion. I would have went through life doing the same thing that I was doing, getting by, just being stuck. I can see myself just going through the motions day after day, go to work, come home, make dinner, eat dinner, watch TV, go to bed, same thing. And that's just, now I know that that's not a life that I would have been able to sustain. That's not the life for me. And so now I can say honestly that I'm a grateful alcoholic, because if I had not been an alcoholic, then I wouldn't know truly what I want to do with my life, what makes me happy, where I want to go, who I even want to be. I mean, I was so wrapped up in being the person I thought other people wanted me to be that I didn't know who I actually was. And so, again, I mean, going back to the journey and wrapping this up, I think as a good car talk episode, couldn't be happier with what I've went through and where I'm at in my life. And a large part of, not a large part, the only reason that I am here today, not only here in Los Angeles, California with my beautiful fiance, but here on this earth, is because I did a shit ton of work on myself. A ton. Mental work, a ton of physical work, a ton of emotional work, spiritual work. I mean, notebooks and notebooks of writing and journaling. And hours and hours and hours and hours and hours at the gym, or running, or doing a workout at home. And hours and hours and hours of research. What can I eat that's going to be better for me? How can I make this more efficient? Whatever.
Yeah.
The point is that I'm grateful to be here, and you can be just as inspired, but you gotta put the work in.
Yeah.
You gotta put the work in.
It's like my mom said, I can tell you 1,000 times, don't do this or do this, that you're never going to understand until you go through that and you say, oh, she was right. Oh, no, she... Right? It's until we are going through our own journey and we understand what's good and what's bad for us. But you just said finding your life purpose help you to come out from that dark place. But you will tell everyone that is out there sometime asking like, oh, hey, I feel so down, I feel so stuck, I don't like what I'm doing. And that's a reality today. What you will say? Because it's hard, it's not easy. And you say tons of work.
I would say that the very first thing, number one, take small steps. Don't try to do it. Don't try to do it all in a day. Don't try to change everything all at once. Take small steps. Okay. Little steps done daily over a period of time will lead to big changes. You'd be surprised.
Try different things. Because if you never try something new, you don't know if you like it or
well,
not.
yeah, I was gonna say yes. I was gonna say get out there more. Because
explore.
A big thing for me, yes, explore. A big thing for me was that I didn't really know how to make friends. I didn't really know, I don't know. I stayed home. I didn't even try to go out and do things. I stayed at home. And the biggest thing that I realized when I started to actually do things and open up and say yes, the opportunities presented themselves to me. Because I realized that sitting at home, where is an opportunity to come from? Like, nobody's gonna call me and be like, hey man, I got this sweet deal for you, you know? Yeah. Like, you gotta go out and talk to people and find out who they are and what they're doing, and opportunities just they happen, you know? And especially if you surround yourself with like-minded people. That's another thing. Surround yourself with like-minded people, honestly, because like the ones that are taking your energy, the ones that are pulling away from you, are the ones that are keeping you from becoming the better person that you want to be. And if you remove them from your life, then you have all that much more energy to focus on yourself.
What about Matt today? This guy here next to me. What are you struggling with? Because life is not perfect today, right? But now you have the resources.
Life is never perfect. Lots of stress and anxiety with starting a business and traveling all the time, not having a consistent place to settle down. Definitely struggling with parts of our relationship. Being on the road is not easy. Being with each other all the time is not easy. So there's definitely some aspects of that you and I talk about, obviously. But that's the important thing. Life isn't going to be perfect. There's always going to be things that are going on. It's how you deal with it, though. Like in the past, I would have taken the fight that we had earlier, and I would have went and I would have drank. I would use that as an excuse to drink, right?
Okay.
But I don't have to do that now. Because I have the tools and the resources. So although, like, I love my life is freaking awesome. I'm in Los Angeles, California. In the past 2 months, I've been to Montana, Wyoming, Washington, Oregon, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia. I mean, we've also driven through a ton of other states. I'm exploring. I'm with the woman that I love. We have our dog. You know, but it's when things go sideways or when I feel down, you know, I pull out my tools and resources. I pull out my tool bag and I put my hand in and I find something that is going to work for the situation that I'm in, and then I go from there, you know. And like, yeah, sure, like even with our health and wellness, even with what we're doing as, you know, for our company, we're not perfect, right? We sleep in. Sometimes we don't go to the gym, but we can't beat ourselves up.
Ups and downs.
It's ups and downs. We need to understand that not every day is going to be perfect. And we just need to keep moving forward and again, pull out that tool bag when we need it and make the necessary corrections. Perfect example, when I'm noticing that I'm starting to get a little snippy or impatient, I write, you know, I'll go and I'll write in my journal. Because I know something else is going on.
Good talk, baby.
Yeah, I agree. I like the car talks.
Me too. And I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of you too.